Welcome to the Rebuild Procurement Podcast, the number one procurement podcast in the world, where we dive deep into topics to keep procurement people up to date and ahead of their peers. Subscribe on YouTube, or whether or not you like this, wherever you're at, subscribe, like. On today's episode, this is part 4 of 4, Alan, and today we're going through driving results. So what does that mean? Aligning expectations, delivering and driving those results, how to do it, and then communicating on the back end. I'm Tom Finn, bringing 15 years on the client side, procurement, finance, and category management experience in large and small cap orgs.
And I'm Alan Veek, a procurement geek on the sell side of our street, and I've assembled a team of superhuman procurement professionals doing managed services at a company that we call Summit.
Let's get into it.
All right, Tommy, how was your week? How was your Easter?
Yeah, the past whole week has been, so for me, so I have 2 younger kids, and they were home most of the day. Put them in camp, did their thing, soccer. Ended up actually being they loved it, which is super cool because we were totally, 1, scared about weather, worked out well, and then 2, wasn't sure if it was going to be any good. It was. So that was most of the week. And then on over the weekend, did one thing interesting, did a few things, but then did one thing interesting was went out to the Lancaster and let our kids do like a little farm experience with some friends.
Fun.
And and for those people that are listening outside of the Pennsylvania area, that's like where the Amish are, the Mennonites. So then also went to it was an Amish ice cream place, which too few places in the United States have an outdoor playground, and they had like a lot of open space. So that ended up being like a fantastic time. So that was the weekend. What about you? Alan?
That's fun. Did you do a traditional Easter egg hunt? Because those days are long behind me, so I'm looking.
What we do
it.
is a basket, right? There's a basket that the Easter Bunny delivers to, and then we did, yeah. So we have went over to my aunt's house. I have a decent sized family, and there's only like now there's like grandkids around, right, for them.
Right,
So
right.
So it was, I think there's only like 7 grandkids that were there. Like some of the other ones had other family stuff, and they had like 100 eggs. So every kid made out like a bandit.
Bajillion eggs. Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, I think it was 100 eggs for 6, 7 kids.
I'm missing the days when I used to find the eggs that I'd forgotten where I hid with the front of the lawnmower. You'd be like, "Oh, what was? Oh, that was Easter egg." Yeah,
yeah, that's still me with the tennis balls for my dog.
That's funny. My week, yeah. What did I do? Fun. So I'm really ramping up my presence on LinkedIn, and I've got a fantastic team member. I'm going to give a shout out to Jason Fleener, who did the video intro to our podcast.
Oh, yeah, with the spray paint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. He's a multi-talented kind of videographer, digital guy. He does 3D printing. Like he's got his fingers in everything. And I had this idea that I wanted to come up with some fun, what we're calling portraits, because pictures are too general. Portrait is a kind of an AI generated picture. And he sent me this note. He was like, send me 36 headshots. He said, just random shots from your photo album.
Yeah.
So, I spent 15 minutes and took this, took that, took this, and tried to do some face angles, sent it to him. $10 later, and like 30 minutes later, he had hundreds of these portraits of me, and one of them was featured on Easter Sunday, me wearing a nice fedora and holding a basket of eggs. And then he shared with me, he said, this is the one we really wanted to show, and it's me dressed up in an Easter bunny costume. So he shared that one on Monday. So just preparing the vast listening audience here, Tom, I have thousands of these things to share, and they're hilarious.
Hopefully they're not all Easter related, because it runs out quick.
No. Just you wait. Like there's something seminal that happens every day. Like you know what today is, Tom, right?
Is it Earth Day?
It's Earth Day.
I got a Windows notification.
It's Earth Day, so you could do
you dressed up as a tree
themed picture, dressed up like the Earth. No, I mean no, it's not. We're not going to release anything today, but it could be me rock climbing. It could be me doing something in the Earth with the Earth. So so that was the fun thing I did this week.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, the other thing I have that's like non-family related. So I've been fiddling away, as you know. I don't try and talk about it. My son kind of gets upset at me because I talk so much about AI. And he's like, "You're obsessed about AI." And I am, but I try and tone it down a little bit when I'm having just regular everyday conversations. But I built out this app. So it's all me and my, AI buddy. And I'm stuck just on the Stripe payment. So the whole entire thing
Ooh.
functions, all flows through, and I just can't get the checkout to work. And it was partially working, but it got stuck in test mode, and I can't
Yeah.
get it to go into live. So anyone feel free to DM me at Cost Cut Pro on Twitter. But yeah, I might end up hiring for that just to
I,
push
I
me
got
across
a
the finish line.
I got a computer science kid in the family. I might put you in touch with Henry. He might be
Yeah,
able to help.
need to talk to Henry. It has taken about the past 4 days of me just like trying to find
Oh,
different ways of trying to get a payment
nothing
through
worse.
because I released it.
Nothing
The
worse.
whole goal is just to understand just like Facebook ads and all these other kinds of things, just how certain things function again and how it's changed.
That's cool.
Um, so like release app, run Facebook ads, see what goes through, see what flows through, and like using some AI generated photos, different like things of that nature. And yeah, and just like I could tell somebody tried to check out and then couldn't. I was like, what's wrong? Like stop Facebook ads, go on. Like, oh no, it's stuck in test mode. So the things you
Uh,
learn as a non-coder, I think, Alan,
yep.
prediction, there is a lot of money to be made serving folks like me that want to just
Yes.
release stuff and they just need deployment. Like they can figure
Yes.
out everything except deployment. Cause I'll tell you, like, there's another one, Cursor, which is great, but don't understand anything about deployment. I don't, and it doesn't do it for you. A
Mm.
different one, Replit, kind of does it for you, but not fully.
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
it's definitely a lot of money to be made there, or an app that
Yep.
can easily roll it into it.
Cool. I cannot wait to see the finished product. Make sure you share it on the pod,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Well,
that
it's
all of
not
our
business
vast
related.
listening audience
Yeah, it's
can
not
hear.
business
Okay, it's
related. It's
not.
just
That's
fun.
okay.
Yeah,
It's just fun. Well, that's what we encourage our listeners to be smarter than their peers. One of the ways you do that, you just get in and you play. You get in the sandbox like you're doing, and you play and you
yeah.
learn stuff as you
Exactly.
do it. That's good. All right, our topic for the day. We are wrapping up our series on the key imperatives, the three key imperatives for category managers, and this is kind of like under the heading of what we introduced as Procurement 2025, Focus for 2025. And I'll recap it. The first that we said, the first key imperative for a category manager is know your stakeholders. That's kind of a sales activity. Get out and get to know the people whose budget you're helping to make more effective. It's a sales activity to get them to bring their spend to procurement. Second is know your category, understand your category. So this is all about kind of like a research function. Understand who the key suppliers are, understand how your spend lays out. It's all the research activities behind how you do your job as a good category manager. But then third, and this is the huge number three, builds on number one and number two. It's deliver results. The only reason why we're doing all these things is to be able to deliver results for your organization. That means, everybody always thinks first of savings. I think you and I tend to agree on this, Tom. We think of savings as being table stakes. We think of them as being the free part that comes along with good procurement activity. So let's not focus on it, but maybe the things you're delivering for your organization are higher quality, greater value. You're delivering lower risk. You're delivering faster or better performance, on-time performance. There's a whole host of things that you could be delivering in terms of delivering results. So we're going to focus today on this number three, delivering results. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, doing stuff is no good if you're not communicating out the results that you have. So yeah. So it's not worth the effort unless you're going to communicate and make sure people are aware and let folks understand that impact. So it's the follow on to a lot of work. And at the end of the day, from a career perspective, or if you have your own business, making sure folks know what they got out of what they paid you, super important.
Yeah. Yeah. So actually, my focus on this is more about the actual work of delivering the results. So, in step one, let's kind of walk through this. In
Sure.
step one, as a category manager, you went and met with the head of IT who's got this big budget, and they said, we want to buy this piece of software. And then you kind of used step two, your understanding of the category, to be able to dig in and say, who are the suppliers that can provide us with this sort of software functionality? And you ranked them, 1 to 5, and you took those results back to the stakeholder, and you said, okay, of these now, which ones of these will you allow me to go out and source with? So number three is really actually that activity of sourcing.
To do.
Uh, to do exactly, it's where the rubber meets the road, and so you figure out, okay, we're going to run an RFP for this. We're going to see if we can save. You got a $1 million budget, $1 million budgeted for this particular purchase, and we're going to see if we can help you reduce that 10, 20, 30% by bringing you a competitive negotiation, reverse auction, some sort of a way that you can derive value out of that particular sourcing event.
Yeah. Yeah, I think though there is so there's the work to be done and the communicating after. On the work to be done, the most important piece there, I'd say, and it kind of goes to some of the prior steps of like the sales pitch, but it's alignment of like what do you want results in? Because like you're saying, savings, like I think both of us, like it's the table stakes, it's you always lead with savings, make sure that's like the expectation of folks from you in
Yep.
procurement and sourcing is to deliver money back to the org, find, like you said, on efficiency gains or just dollar reductions. But what every company has a focus. If you're running capital projects, the dollar saved might be meaningless compared to having that plant or that data center or whatever it is done. And speed might be the result that's needed,
Yep.
and you have to measure that
Yeah.
speed. Or if it's just a very important piece of the business that needs high uptime via supplier, it's managing that supplier. It's output of making that switch to the new supplier, and then obviously also just sort of ranking what's important and letting them know that upfront when you're going through those RFP processes. So I think, yeah, I mean, it's like you said,
Like
it's
it.
one kind of continuous system of figuring out the importance and then implementing that as you go.
Yeah, I like that. You specifically highlighted the notion of speed. One of the sourcing projects that we ran for a client of ours at Summit recently was around machined metal parts and subassemblies, and they had a real need. They were having long lead time on a couple of the suppliers that were providing this. Believe it or not, they had about 7 suppliers that were doing almost all of the parts that were in this portfolio, this category, this portfolio of parts that they were buying. And we went to them and we said, it does appear that certain of these suppliers are giving you longer lead times and slowing you down, slowing your supply chain down. So why don't we run a very tight RFP around kind of expectations for delivery times? Let's take it to all 7 suppliers. Let's see who stands out both for cost and speed. And what we found was we could deliver both 16% savings. Number one. Number two, we could drive to the expected delivery times that our client was asking for, and we could reduce the supply base from 7 down to 2 suppliers. So you get this kind of more efficient supply base, more efficient AP, invoicing, everything on the back end that costs so much money. So
Mm-hmm.
we were able to deliver 3 significant wins in this very small category. It's only about a little over $1 million of spend. In a very short time frame. This took us about 45 days to run that thing.
Yeah, and I think I'm leaning so heavy into the communication just because it's something I realized a little not later in my career, but like after a few years, right? It wasn't super. I think I just inherently did a lot of it, but the things you read on when you go open up a book, or just go on Gemini or ChatGPT is just the process itself, and kind of anyone can run a process, right? You can have a software run a process for you, but like getting
Yeah.
in the communication and all right, what's that? You say that's important to you, but like, is that like we're spending $10 million here? Is that really what you need? Like, what issues have you seen? What problems have you had on the front end? And then the implementation of the back end of how you get results is how you communicate that out via that RFP, right? How that scope is written, making sure it focuses on the right areas, like you're saying, for like the delivery time was maybe equally as important as cost, and then for that quality is the table stakes. So they have to be able to
Yeah.
meet a certain spec. But
I
yeah,
love
on
it.
the just like capital projects, which I have had a decent amount of exposure and experience in, uh, like it was the easy thing to get was savings. Um, as long as it was budgeted decently, the easy thing to get was savings. But it's really how quick can you get this to me, right? Because
Yep.
I need it yesterday, and yeah, I don't want to pay too much, but I will because this plant needs
Mhm.
to be up and running, and it
Yep.
needs to fit a installation date of X. So just those things, the stakeholders, understanding the business, understanding the process, that then you can build that into whether it's just request for a proposal or your actual whole entire bid. uh, like that's how you end up delivering that. And on the back end, you're kind of managing that supplier if it's part of your role, maybe even if it's not, if it's important to the company, to deliver to what they said they would and follow up and make sure that
Right
those
on.
results are achieved.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue to something that I think is so important for us to talk about, because our focus here is on procurement 2025. A lot of it on how to be a strategic category manager. So we've outlined the three things that category managers need to do. This third thing of driving results, I want to underscore the word drive, because the category manager is driving. They are not doing necessarily in a very efficient organization. What I've seen is that the best procurement operating model is to let the category manager stay strategic and identify what bring the spend into the organization, into the procurement team, and then determine the priority of what you're going to do and when you're going to do it and how you're going to do it, but then hand it off to an execution team, an actual sourcing team that can write the RFP, that can do the outreach to suppliers, that can kind of be the ones who deliver the results. The category manager's driving it, but the execution team is delivering it and then handing it off to a contracts engine, a contracts desk who actually executes the contract. There's just a lot of tactical work around executing contracts. And then this very important piece that you just highlighted, supplier management. You've got a supplier management team that is doing the analysis on how the supplier is performing, putting together the key metrics, sharing it with suppliers, sharing it with stakeholders, and where you highlight a problem, then you bring that supplier in. If it's a big enough supplier, an important enough supplier, you bring that supplier in and you say, okay, how do we help you overcome this deficit that you have if there are performance issues?
Yeah, and then I'm definitely for bigger organizations. And then some people wear all three hats. I fully agree
Mm,
with you that
yeah.
you definitely, if you're looking to save money, you need to let people focus on it. Certain people focus on it from
Yes.
that category perspective, and then have
Yes.
others issue the RFP, or not necessarily the RFPs, but issue the purchase orders.
Hmm.
Have those follow ups, check ins. If it's a project, have that project team be the ones that follow up after that purchase order is issued or contract is signed. So those are the two very important distinctions. There's almost just, I've always felt, Alan, I was always saying like two sides of the brain, but it's not necessarily that. It's just like two sides to the day, right? There's one, if you're going to do strategic stuff and tactical stuff at the same time, like tactical always ends up being the P0, right? Something needs to
Yep.
be
Yep.
done immediately today, like yesterday, the day before. It's
Yep.
never, and then it just steals away from something that might, overall, you might have a bunch of them, but things that take 3 to 4 months, some that take a month, some that take a week. But really, there you have to be able to timeline stuff out when it comes to that category management. Some that takes a year, and if you're constantly getting interrupted by the
Mm.
day to
The
day,
tactical.
you won't get it done.
Hmm.
Right, stuff will get
Yeah.
pushed out.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, my business at Summit, where we're about 21 months old, 22 months old now, is a great example. So I'm the CEO of this business. And the three things that I'm focused on every day: number one, set the strategic direction; number two, hire the best people; number three, don't run out of cash. Right? Those big picture items I'm
Either
focused
one, two,
on every
three, or
single
three,
day.
two, one, whichever the.
Yes. So those three things are hugely important. That's my job as a CEO. And what I found as we grew from, initially there were about eight of us, then we grew to about 15, and then 22. Now we're about 30 people. Uh, that quickly outspanned my ability to continue to manage all the day-to-day tactical stuff that goes on with a team that size. So what did I do? I specialized. I found some execution resources for me. Just last month, we hired our chief administrative officer, who's picking up all the blocking and tackling behind the scenes that's necessary. In a few months, I'm going to be hiring my first chief revenue officer, fancy way to say sales guy. And the whole idea is I should be focused every single day on selling, but I can't be because I'm doing other things. I need somebody who, when they wake up in the morning, they're focused on selling every single day. So this specialization happens. And for young or new procurement organizations, you're going to start with just one or two or a few people. You're going to have a category manager, and to your point, Tom, that category manager is going to be wearing all those hats, going to be doing everything. But as you start to deliver more of the promise that procurement can bring to your overall enterprise, you're going to want to start to grow your team, and you're going to want to start to specialize. And the key piece here is to make sure you're allowing your category managers to be strategic by peeling away the tactical execution stuff they're doing piece by piece, so that they can focus on building the good strategic plan for how to go after savings and how to go after quality, how to go after lower risk, and allow others to be doing the execution.
Yeah, and proper, just to go back to the results side of things, on the category manager side, it's important to be able to, because you're getting then that freedom essentially to run things over a period of time. You need to have check-in sessions, right? Especially if you're
Mm-hmm.
early on and you're getting an opportunity to do these things, from your management team. You have to be able to communicate back up just status, essentially project managing in a way, right? Just kind of sharing your agenda of how things are going, and then also showing the results that you're achieving. Because if you're not, and especially in those early days, right, if you're comparing a Google, there's only so much oversight, very specialized in different things, versus like a newer, just say 100,000 person, more on the startup-y side, SMB. Maybe you're one category manager that is overseeing the company. You need to be able to make sure that it's understood, the progression, the focus, the results, what you're delivering, timelines, etc.
Right on. That's good. I heard a good quote this week in a podcast I was listening to. I think it was with the founder and CEO of Coinbase, one of those cryptocurrency exchanges, and he was the quote was something like, "When you're uncertain about what to do, think about a bias towards execution or a bias towards action, because action will provide information. And oftentimes that will then point you in the direction of what you need to do, right back to where you kind of started. So action equals information. And I think that's oftentimes true in our world, in the world of procurement. When you go out and you talk to suppliers, when you go out and you run a competitive sourcing event, you're going to find out information about a market, and you might not necessarily know where to start. But once you actually do one of those, you start one of those executions around buying something, you find out a ton of information, and it keys you in on where to go.
Yeah, Brian Armstrong, he's full of quotes.
He's
The
full of well,
Yeah,
he's seen a few things.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, also, I'm gonna get mine wrong for the quote, but I was there was Mr. Beast. There's these two. It was
Oh
actually
yeah,
this one and also this other guy.
who
But
doesn't know Mr.
yeah,
Beast?
there was
We're
a
chasing him.
there was a few. Yeah, there was a few. I think about a year ago, he had his little walkthrough of like how to do your role. He had his kind of like manifesto within his business, and his thing was like never accept no the
Mm,
first time. So like never come back with no as the answer. Like, oh, they said no. You want whatever to shoot in a location. Oh, whatever, someone said no. Who said no? No. Why'd they say no?
right.
Like, did you reach out
Mm,
elsewhere? And I just thought that challenging minds. It's not even challenging. It's just like
mm,
just not accepting the first answer and kind of like just
yeah.
checking again. I thought it was just
Mhm,
insightful. I feel like too many people maybe accept no on the first go, and sometimes it's
mhm.
just the way you're phrasing the question or who you're talking to.
Yeah, people do not handle rejection well. Yeah, and this is kind of tenacity, right? That's the name of that game, is tenacity. In the sales world, I'm sure I've mentioned it before on the pod here. In the sales world, we have a rule which is the number of times you follow up with somebody who hasn't replied. Tom, you want to take a guess? How many times do you
I
follow up?
don't. I could probably count my inboxes and see people following that rule, though. So
Well, no, I guess you don't think many people follow it. It's 5 times. You follow up 5 times.
yeah,
And I remember when I first heard that 25 years ago, I was like, oh my gosh, five
but
times. That's
then
a
but then
lot of times.
preach a little bit, Alan. Right? You're not supposed to just always ask. Right? You're not always supposed to
Hmm.
just say like it's not always gimme, 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 gimme. Isn't there? There's the idea to it that's like you give as well, right? And there's a certain way to
You
do it.
share. Yeah. You share thought leadership. You share content. You've got something that you give. Typically, the first time, it's kind of just a general ask. You might say, hey, do you have 15 minutes to have a quick conversation about what's going on in your
Sure.
business, what's going on in my business? But then when they don't reply, when you get that kind of those crickets, that radio silence, yes, then you provide content. Here's what we're seeing. You share something, an infographic, a piece of research that you've done. Third follow-up, third contact, you might do that. All the way towards this number 5 follow-up. The 5th follow-up is the most important, and it's called the breakup, which you say, clearly what I'm offering you is not resonating, so I'm not going to bother you again. You will not see me in your inbox.
Clearly
again.
it's me, not you.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And when you do that, this notion of breakup, people have a feeling for loss aversion. They don't want to let that relationship go. So they'll typically, I've had like a 95+% respond rate to that breakup email, that breakup
That's very high.
call. It's huge.
That's
it's
a very
huge.
high.
People don't want to break up.
Yeah.
People do not want to break up.
Even though it's just this like this admirer that keeps coming after them, right?
That's what it is. That's what it is. So,
it is.
Yeah, tips of the trade there.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. Well, I think for the most part, I feel like the results for me, Alan, and again, I said this earlier, but the undervalued piece of me, for a piece of what the way I followed things was just closing the loop on how good certain things went and the results that were achieved. And I feel like that's just something that many folks, especially in procurement and sourcing, can do a better job of.
Yeah, I completely agree. I like this. I think this was a fun thing to do a series here. It was actually a 4-part series. The first piece to set it all up, and then the 3 pieces that we think are most important for procurement 2025. Hopefully this will make everyone smarter than their peers. Give some people some direction for how to get 2025 off on the right foot.
Sounds good. Loved it.
All right. So for your humble hosts here at the Rebuild Procurement Podcast, this is Tom Finn, the guy who puts the fin in finance, and I am your OG in procurement, Alan Veek, hoping that you will make this a powerful and productive week in procurement. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Show me, and you won't hear the word rebuild.